be going over data security, and we'll be starting off with data privacy. So what is data privacy? So it is the protection of personal data from those who should not have access to it, and the ability of individuals to determine who can access their personal information, or even a corporate firm's personal information, right? So that is data privacy. So first of all, we'll be going over preventing data loss and restricting the data access, right? So we need to be aware about methods and how they protect your data, right? So you can set up user accounts and passwords. So use of user accounts and passwords to authenticate a user, right? You provide them with a user account and a password, right? And then you give them access rights to information in every level of your user account base, right? So there can be a manager which has a different access, there can be an intern which has a different access to your database, right? So you're using accounts and passwords to restrict access and to monitor their access, right? Then there are digital signatures. So digital signatures protect data by providing a way of identifying the sender. For example, in email, so when you get an email, a digital signature is attached with it. We do not need to know the working for it, we just need to know what digital signatures do, right? Then we have one of the most important things, which is the use of firewalls, right? So a firewall can either be a software or a hardware, and it sits between the user's computer and the network, and then filters information which is coming in and going out of the computer, right? Now we'll be going over some tasks carried out by the firewall, right? So first of all, it examines the traffic between the user's computer and a public network. Then it checks whether the incoming and outgoing data meets a certain criteria. This criteria is usually set up by the user himself, herself, right? Because you need to like filter out your own stuff, what is good for you, what is not good for you, right? Or you can also have presets from the firewall software itself, right? It also blocks the traffic if it does not meet the criteria and give the user a warning. So if there is something that's trying to access and it does not meet the criteria, right? So the user is given a prompt in some sort, right? And it logs all incoming and outgoing traffic for reviewing later, right? So you have a review copy in the sense that maybe you need to figure out what kind of network tried to attack you, or some sort of something like that, right? So you can do that because you have a log of all incoming and outgoing traffic, right? And it also prevents access to certain undesirable sites, right? So for example, some site you would not like to visit, or you would like your server to a server setup, and you would not like your employees to visit, right? So you can use a firewall so they cannot visit that site, or you cannot visit that site, right? That is the use of firewall. Now we have antivirus software, right? So an antivirus software usually runs in the background and constantly checks for virus attacks, right? So you need to be always up to date with your antivirus software in order to protect your computer, right? And common features of antivirus software, so you do not need to be app specific, right? Almost all applications for an antivirus software of some sort have these common features, right? So what do? They check software or files before they're run or loaded onto a computer. Even when you're installing a new software, you can perform an antivirus check if your antivirus is active. So it's going to let you know if the application you're trying to install is safe or not for your computer, right? It also compares possible virus against a database of known viruses, and it carries out heuristic checking. So it checks if any apps are being suspicious. So if any apps are trying to access some information or try to perform something which is not given access to, like you do not have given access to that app to do that, so it is acting suspicious, and then it compares it with the possible virus, like it compares it with the database of known viruses. And then it also quarantine files or programs which are possibly infected, and it allows the users to automatically it allows the user to make a decision of whether to delete them or not, or if you have set it in the accordance of automatically deleting it. So as soon as they quarantine those files and they are thought of as possibly infected, they will just get deleted, right? Now we have anti-spyware software, right? So anti-spyware software detects and removes spyware programs installed illegally on a computer's system, right? And lastly, we have encryption, right? So what is encryption? So when you have data in your database, so you're encrypting it. So in the process of converting information or data into a code that cannot be deciphered without the decryption key, right? So take for example, we have ABC, right? If you're changing it to DEF, right? So you're moving letters, right? You're moving A to D, you're moving B to E, you're moving C as F, right? So unless the hacker knows what kind of an algorithm you're using to encrypt your data, or he does not have access to the decryption key, he cannot figure out what is being going on, what is the data about, right? So you need in decryption key to decrypt the encrypted data. So it is a very good sort of a practice to encrypt your data if you are at a possible risk of getting your security breached and your data might get lost. And to use and there are a lot of new algorithms and a lot of trusted algorithms which take a long time to break or decrypt, right? So this is a very modern way of making your data secure, right? So even if your firewall is breached, even if your anti-spyware software is breached and the hacker or some sort gets access to your data, so unless he has the decryption key, it is totally useless for the person, right? So this is part 1 of this video. We'll be continuing onward with part 2, and that will be out soon.